The font settings pages are pretty much identical in Windows 10 and Windows 11. I'm on a Windows 11 machine right now, so I'm going to go to Settings, Personalization, and then Fonts. The same path, by the way, in Windows 10. Here I can install fonts by dragging the font file in here to this little box. I could get more fonts from the Microsoft Store. If I click Microsoft Store there. There we go, a number of fonts I can choose from. The available fonts means that these are fonts that are already installed on your system. So let's install a new font. And I will install the Texas Tango font. I happen to have that here on my desktop. Well, I don't happen to. I put it there on purpose. And I'm going to just drag that into here until it says copy, release it, and it has been installed. Let's see if we can find it. Texas Tango. Okay, we don't see it here. And that's because we'll probably need to refresh the screen. I'm just going to click back and then go back to fonts again. Let's go back down and see if we can find that Texas Tango. There it is, Texas Tango. So we can uninstall fonts from here as well. If I click the font, here's the uninstall button. Now, sometimes when you're installing or uninstalling, there may be several flavors of a particular font. It may have separate font files for italics, regular, bold, and so on. So sometimes you'll need to install or uninstall a whole bunch of them. So for example here, I just clicked on the Arial font, and you notice there's a regular, narrow, italic, and so on. And if I uninstall, it's only going to uninstall one of them, and then I would have to see, I have to choose here which one I want to uninstall. And I'm only installing the regular one if I were to uninstall that. And I would have to individually go in and uninstall each of these. And those would disappear from here as I uninstall them. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the characteristics of fonts that are available in Windows. I'm going to use Microsoft Word here to demonstrate this, and I've got this set up for 20-point fonts so that we can see them clearly in the video. There are proportional and monospace fonts. So let's take a look at a couple of those. Let's start by looking down here. You see this Courier New? You might notice that the letters are kind of far apart. This I, for example, is not close to the R. So let's try that one. Okay, so you can see that each letter is the same distance apart no matter how wide it is. This I doesn't take up much space. As a matter of fact, if I just put all X's in here, they line up perfectly. These are really good for lining up numbers. If I have some numbers that I want to add, for example, in columns, this works perfectly. Whereas if I used a different font, let's put these in a different font. Let's put them in Calibri, which is used quite a bit. You can clearly see that these are not lined up over against the ones place. And so I really like the monospace fonts for that purpose. Now underneath this, let's go to Calibri and type the same thing. Besides the fact that the letters themselves are heavier letters, you notice that this doesn't take up near the space that this one does, even though it's also 20-point font. These are both 20-point font. Well, here we've got this going on. This I is very close to the S. This I is very close to the S. But this O takes up, well, let's put the X's underneath it. Now I have the same pattern with 4 letters, 2 letters, 1 letter, 4 letters, 3 letters. I've got the same pattern, but look how much more room it takes because these are all wide characters. The other thing I want you to notice about these, I'm going to increase the magnification here, and that is the serif and sans serif. So serifs are these little, let me get a pointer here. Serifs are these little embellishments around the letters. You notice that this T has only 2 lines right here. Zip, zip, like that. But this T has all these little embellishments around it. The I has a little embellishment there. This I is just one straight line. This one has this underline and then this little left-facing piece there. So this is a serif font. This one over here is a sans serif. Sans means without. So it's sans serif. That's not proper French pronunciation, but that's the way we usually pronounce it in English. Now there are some other characteristics in fonts that we really aren't going to look at in any depth, but I will mention one term, and that is kerning. Now, to kern as a verb means to remove some of the space between letters. And so you can see that this monospace font is not kerned, whereas this proportional font is kerned. And you can clearly see the space between the I and the S, and the space between the I and the S here is quite a bit different, because the I is a very narrow character and S is a very wide character. And so this I takes up the same space as if I was going to put an S there. You notice nothing shifted when I did that, because these are the same width.